All right, so we are going to practice creating an object, and then we will also practice accessing a few different things about that object and printing it to our screen. All right, so in order to create an object, we are going to, in this situation, create a student object. So we're going to say var student equals, and we are going to give ourselves some open brackets. So recall that when we are creating a object, we essentially create a variable that exists within a set of brackets that includes some properties. And properties include names and values. And each of those names and values is separated by a comma, not a semicolon. All right. So let's get after it. So we are going to create a variable, not a variable, a property called first name. We are using a colon. This is very similar to properties in CSS, if you recall that. And we'll make this me. So my first name is Jen. My last name is Manley. Again, we are using commas to separate. And then we are going to give it 2 quiz scores as well. So we have quiz 1 score is, we'll say 10. I did really well on that one. And then quiz 2 score is 7. Didn't do as well. Okay, so we have our first 4 properties and their values. And then for our last property, we're going to get a little fancy, and we are going to have this last property call a function that will average those 2 quiz scores. All right, so we will say quiz avg, we're going to call a function. And within that function, we are going to return, in parentheses, this dot quiz 1 score plus this dot quiz 2 score, and we're going to divide that by 2 to get the average. So looking at this statement here, we use the keyword this, which tells us to look within this student object. So really important, this would not work, this line of code would not work if I hadn't already declared a quiz 1 score. Okay, so for whatever reason, I didn't declare quiz 1 score, or I forgot to declare quiz 1 score, this function is not going to execute because this object does not have that particular property. All right. Okay, so let's check our work and see if we did this correctly. So the first thing we're going to do is display an alert with the students, and that should say quiz average, students quiz average. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to do alert, and we're going to say student dot quiz avg with some parentheses. We use those parentheses, right, because we are calling a function. Quiz average is a function. Okay, so we're saying, hey, go ahead and go to that student object and get the quiz average. All right, so let's go ahead and save this and test it. There we go. We do, in fact, get our quiz average. Now, just to double check, make sure that it's working the way we want, let's say I bombed that quiz. I'm going to save it. And now I have a lower quiz average. Okay? All right. The next thing that we're going to do is we are going to print out some info about our student to the page. So we are going to say document.write, and we are going to write the student's name is, make sure you have that space in there, plus student.firstname plus space plus student.lastname, last name, plus period. Nice little sentence. And don't forget your semicolon. Now, one thing that I want to draw your attention to with this particular line of code is that here we're accessing the student's first name. We do not use parentheses at the end of that first name because first name is not a function. First name is simply a property. Okay, so quiz average calls a function, which is why it gets those parentheses, whereas first name is simply a property. All right, All right, go ahead and save it. There we go. We've got our quiz average, and we have printed out that my name is Jen Manley.